All right, today I want to chat with you guys and gals a little bit about understanding the value of training muscles from multiple angles. And I have kind of playing in the background, you're going to see, 4 different exercises in the rotation. You're going to see me doing some real wide grip bench pressing. You're going to see me doing some incline bench pressing. Those are both done with a pause. Then you're going to see me doing some touch and go close grip bench pressing, and then some laying tricep extensions done in a skull crusher style. So when you look at all those exercises, it starts to become apparent, a lot of the same muscles are being worked, but they're being worked at different rates, at different points in the muscle. And so when we're talking about fully developing a muscle, if you start looking at a lot of data that's been out there, not so much always EMG studies, but you start looking at hypertrophy studies. What's some of the stuff that we find? All right, we find that different parts of the muscle do grow. And it's not always what people would think of, like just the upper and lower chest. It could, it can be things further closer to the tendon and further away from the tendon. Perfect example, especially a lot of arm stuff like biceps and triceps. Those different heads do grow differently from different training stimulus. So when you look at these exercises, it starts to become apparent that since certain exercises in the lab, even with experienced lifters, seem to grow different regions of the muscle at higher rates than others. Okay, because keep in mind, most parts of a muscle will grow if it gets any stimulus, but different parts will grow at different rates. This kind of tells us that if we're only doing one exercise, we're leaving a bit on the table. And this isn't even about rotating, because these were all done in the same week, right? All these exercises in this were done in the same week. Granted, they're done on a couple different days. But it would behoove us to do a couple different movements. This is why when I tell people, when they say, what's the best exercise for any given muscle? Like, there isn't one. The best exercise is probably to take a couple of different exercises that are good exercises and just train them really hard, okay? And if you do that, you're not going to be far off, right? Meaning, so maybe you didn't pick the best possible combination in the world, okay? That's not the end of the world, is it? Why? Because if they're both decent exercises, are they pretty good movements, right? We would look at all of these and say, this is all pretty good movements, right? Now, granted, some are better for some muscles than others. Like, you would look at that closed grip bench and the skull crushers and say, yeah, they're definitely better for triceps than the others. But the other two work the triceps. Is there chest involvement in those? I would say yes. Closed grip, obviously there's chest. Confirmed with plenty of research. We could make a case for that extension working the chest a little bit. I wouldn't count it towards chest volume, but just making that point. Again, it is an isolation movement, but it does work a little bit of other stuff. But I wouldn't count on any growth from that. But you got 4 exercises that do work the triceps, 2 of them much more than the others, 3 exercises that work the chest. Now, when you start looking at where they work them, though, there's a difference. Of course there is. Bench press, especially that wide grip bench, works the entire chest top to bottom. Okay? Fairly balanced. It's a really balanced exercise. And again, anyone who tells you the bench press performed in the manner I'm doing it in this video will not build the chest fails basic biomechanics. They would fail basic biomechanics. They clearly don't know anything about what muscles actually do in the body, what their functions are, because that's a very chest dominant bench. And when you look at the way everything lines up, it works the top, middle, and bottom of the chest relatively evenly. Okay? Whereas in that incline bench is a little more biased towards the upper chest, isn't it? Those fibers running across the upper. Now on the ends, it doesn't matter. When you start getting down near the tendons, towards the armpit, it doesn't matter that much, right? Those insertion points. But it matters for those origins. What's the origin? All those muscles are running all the way across the sternum. Right? Notice how the pec is like a big breastplate that runs across your entire rib cage, top to bottom. Okay, it's a little more biased towards the fibers in the upper chest. And it's not about the major and the minor. That the pectoralis minor is such a small muscle that it's not really what we're talking about. We're still talking about the major, the big meaty part of the chest. It is biased there, but it does work the whole thing. Now, we can make a case with that closed grip, though. Maybe it works origins and insertions a little bit different, right? Because it's still like the wide grip, but it's just a little less chest, you know. They all work the front delt. So the same thing, we start talking about the triceps, okay? All those presses, they work the lateral and medial head of the tricep a little more than the long head. What does that mean? The part near the elbow, right? It works that area better. The long head is that big horseshoe up near the armpit. Okay? That tricep extension is a really balanced one. Now, there are exercises that will bias that long head more. And I do some of those, but I didn't include any in this video because I need to bring all that up, me personally. But you combine that together, what do we have? But if you were to take these 4 exercises and you were to do all 4 of them and get good at them, would you then have really balanced chest and tricep development? Probably so. Okay? Because 2 of them bias the exercise, bias heads a little bit, but the bench press is very balanced, works the whole chest really effectively. All the parts of it. That skull crusher, that extension, works all 3 heads of the tricep fairly evenly. Pretty good all-around exercise. Then you have these other 2 that work the whole thing, but they're more biased towards certain parts. Like the closed grip bench press is a lot of lateral head, right? Works a lot of that head on the outside down near the elbow, okay? So again, you combine these movements together. What do you have? Well, now you've got the foundation of a good program, okay? We're working all the muscles from a couple of different angles, using time-proven, very effective basic exercises. And I do personally like, in some cases, stuff that isolates stuff a little more. Absolutely has its role. But for base building, not always necessarily, but if we want to build a real broad base, something like this works really, really well. You can get a long way on this. If you perform them correctly, with good workloads, you train them hard and with progressive overload. And that's what I mean by understanding the value of working muscles from different angles. Not always talking about that you have to get in and isolate every head always, but it's a good idea to work the muscles from a couple different angles using really good exercises. Because no one would argue that. No one who's reasonable would say, oh, a wide grip, flat back bench press and an incline barbell bench press are not good chest exercises. No reasonable person would make that statement. No reasonable person would look at a closed grip bench press and a lying extension and say those are not good tricep exercises. They are. So, and that's what I mean. Work a few different angles. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys and gals next time.